Most important thing to keep in mind here is from the Russian side that Putin has gone all in. He's primarily thinking about a domestic audience here. He's not particularly susceptible to being to changing his behavior by being expelled from the G8, because what he's done in Ukraine has driven his poll numbers up. He's up to 75% of the Russian public approves of his leadership. And so this is, and there's a pattern here with what he did in, following on the heels of what he did in Georgia, in the Northern Caucasus back in 2008 as well. And this is really troubling for those other parts of the former Soviet Union that are now independent countries that have large ethnic Russian populations in Kazakhstan and the Baltics, for instance. The other thing from the Ukrainian perspective that needs to be remembered is that I think in the Western press too much is made of the ethnic and particularly the linguistic divide in Ukraine, in the north and the east. The east and the south, it's dominated by Russian speakers. The west and the north, it's dominated by Ukrainian speakers. That's not necessarily the same thing as ethnic Russians or Ukrainians. The thing is, most of the Ukrainians that I talk to, particularly, including the ones, I guess I would say, who are Russian speakers, they think of themselves as Ukrainian. Even if they're ethnically Russian and they speak Russian at home and in public, they understand what it means to be citizens of Ukraine. So it is a divided country in important ways, politically, because of its history and so on and so forth. But most Ukrainians have a sense of what Ukraine is, and I think that sense of internal division is really overplayed in the West. The worst case scenario is if Russia moves into the Russian military moves into eastern Ukraine, which is the area dominated by ethnic Russians. And I think if that were to happen, the Ukrainian military would fight back. I think most Ukrainians would rally around the blue and yellow of the Ukrainian flag and fight back. I think in the near term, the big question is what happens with the May 25th elections, and the hope there is that there are viable ethnic Russian candidates regionally and nationally, that there are viable Russian-speaking candidates, that the elections are free and open, that there is a robust debate in the Ukrainian press, which is far more free and far more independent than what we see in Russia. And the hope there is that Ukrainians the Ukrainians see that they need to decide these matters for themselves and ignore the Russian propaganda that's being pumped into the eastern part of the country, in particular about neo-fascists and Ukrainian radical nationalists and so on and so forth who are hijacking the country. So that's my hope. What then Russia does, we'll see.